Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with the juice. What in the world just happened? Y'all know I'm about to bust. Like, I'm about to scream. I want to talk about Daemon's Weirwood dream so bad. It definitely adds fuel to the fire of my theory that I wrote years ago that Daemon's story is way bigger and way more important than we think. And I'm going to talk about it. But first, let's break down this amazing episode of House of the Dragon. We start off in the Riverlands. So the Riverlands are literally where every war is fought and won in Westeros. We see Robb Stark. He needs the twins so bad, needing this bridge so bad that he agrees to marry one of Walder Frey's daughters, and then he reneges. He's like, psych, gotta be quicker than that. We see the Lannister forces take Harrenhal. Like, we see a lot and lots of war in the Riverlands. And the Dance of Dragons is no different. We have House Blackwood that has sided with Rhaenyra, and House Blackwood is a very interesting house. House Blackwood is the house of one of the most infamous Targaryens ever, Bloodraven. Targ bastard Brynden Rivers, wielder of Dark Sister and Weirwood Bow, one of my favorite Targaryens ever. He's Daemon and Rhaenyra's great grandson, but also he's the guy that was in the cave with Bran Stark. He's the three-eyed raven. How many eyes does Lord Bloodraven have? 1,000 eyes in one. Clock it, T. These other folks are Brackens. They had a great Targaryen bastard of their own, Bittersteel, Aegor Rivers. He was the leader of the Blackfyre rebellions and the founder of the Golden Company. You know, the sellswords that Cersei called from Essos with elephants as their mount. They had like 2 seconds of scream time in season 8 and like nothing was built up to their story at all. They kind of just like died. Anyway, Bloodraven and Bittersteel were brothers, but they were bitter foes. This was years after the dance, but the Brackens and Blackwoods have always been at each other's throats. They are the real life Hatfield and McCoys of Westeros. They hate each other real bad, like real bad. In House of the Dragon season 1, we had Lord Willem Blackwood. He came to meet Rhaenyra at Storm's End. Jarrell Bracken is there as well. And it doesn't take much for them to duel to the death. And little Lord Blackwood had the victory. Boom. In the Riverlands, the Blackwoods have declared for Rhaenyra, the Brackens have declared for Aegon. This led to the Battle of the Burning Mill. And as you can see, many died. They took many losses on both sides, but it is the first true battle of the war. And it was really started by the two families who look every day, all day, for a reason to kill each other. Yay! So the Bracken guy is named Aeron Bracken. I don't know who the Blackwood is because it's likely not Samwell Blackwood, the Lord of Raventry Hall, because he would have died. And this dude looks like he needs to be around. And also, I didn't see him dead. And the Bracken that is dead isn't Amos Bracken. So he's some Blackwood of importance. Many have said he's Benjicott Blackwood, aka Bloody Ben, but Bloody Ben's only like 12. So maybe this is him and they aged him up. Either way, what we do know is the Blackwoods and Brackens are at it. And what's new? The bodies are everywhere. Not even the cows were safe. The Brackens think they have won, but there's rumor of a dragon at Harrenhal. And the Blackwoods have declared for Rhaenyra, so Daemon is like to seek a retribution for this. Then we get the burial of the twins, and Jace doesn't want Eric buried with Eric. He said he sullies the grave of his brother, and Rhaenyra is like, well, we can't really fault him for keeping his oath. That's not even important. The Rhaenys has come to spill tea. She says Otto Hightower would not have allowed this, which is true. Otto is many things. He's many things. An idiot and a prankster is not one of them. Rhaenys says no one will remember what started this war. She advises Rhaenyra to seek another way because the war between kin is looked down on by the gods, but a war between dragons will be so bloody. And it will be awful. Like, Rhaenys wants Rhaenyra to seek out Allison and try to get things ended without bloodshed, but Rhaenyra has been leaving Alicent's texts on scent. So Rhaenyra is not trying to talk with Alicent. The way she sees it is they have usurped her throne, and she's right. And in King's Landing, the green heraldry that is being placed all around the castle makes me want to literally vomit. Kingsguard just laying about the steps like there's some sellswords or like Crispen is in way over his head. In the council meeting, it's chaos. You can really tell the difference with Otto not being there. As Allison says, they need to find their discipline. Aegon has appointed new knights in Kingsguard, his friends, and yes, man, what a weirdo. They talk about the Brackens and the Blackwoods. They don't know what to do. Like, the maester's like, we need to send a raven to Lord Tully, Lord Grover Tully. And Jason's like, well, I'm raising an army in the Riverlands, and what link in your chain says anything about you know anything about war? And Crispen plans to take the Crownland houses and try to get Harrenhal. And I got bad news for you, boy. It ain't happening. But anyway, Aegon wants him to take Vhagar and Aemond. Crispen wants Aemond to stay here and guard the city with Vhagar. So Aegon's like, you know what? I'll come with Sunfire. But Aemond, counsels him to stay. Aemond says, you need to stay here. You're the heir. We can't lose you. And he's like, I'm as fearsome as any of them. And then we get a shot of Masara and Rhaenyra, and they're together at Dragonstone. And Rhaenyra says, you saved my life. And Masara says, what is the life of a queen worth these days? Girl, Masara, you are a hustler. Masara wants a place at Rhaenyra's court. So Masara knows the workings of the Red Keep and the movements of those who serve there. So I think Masara will become Rhaenyra's master of whispers. Masara wants revenge. She wants to punish the Hightowers for burning her house, her brothel. But baby, it was Lord Larys. It was Lord Larys that did that, but he did it for Alicent. But more than that, she says, I know the struggle of the small folk, and you are better than your brother. I mean, Aegon does have his bastards in the fighting pits of King's Landing, which is terrible. In those fighting pits, they file those babies' teeth all sharp, all kinds of stuff. Do you remember Rourke and Biter from Game of Thrones? They used to pal around with Jaqen. Arya hated their guts. Well, Biter was raised in the fighting pits. Then we find out that Sea Smoke has grown restless of late. We cannot know why. Masara says maybe he's lonely. And I'm wondering if this is supposed to mean that Laenor has died. And if we're going to get some confirmation of that coming up. It's sad that Laenor abandoned him. Also, if I had a dragon, I would spend a lot of time with it. And these people don't. We never see them just go to their dragon. They never just go say what's up to their dragon or just anything. But maybe the connection is, I've suspected, a soul connection, like a warg bond where you're just one all the time and those little trips and treats aren't really necessary. Rhaenyra meets with Raina. She is sending Joffrey to ward with Lady Jane Eyre. So Rhaenyra will get the Knights of the Vale in exchange for her son Joffrey and his dragon Tyraxes. So Rhaenyra wants Raina to go with them, and she wants her to take Viserys and Aegon even further to Pentos. Pentos is where Daemon and Lena were before her death, but Pentos is also where Daenerys is with Illyrio Mopatis in the very beginning of Game of Thrones, which is interesting because of what happened next with Raina. But Rhaenyra says to guard her children as a dragon guards their eggs. This, of course, pisses Raina off, but she feels inferior. She doesn't like this. She feels like it's because she doesn't have a dragon. This is Raina's worst fear come true because she thought that Prince Reggio back in season 1 would send her away because she doesn't have a dragon. And that's only partly true. I mean, she doesn't have a dragon, so she can't really fight in the war. But Rhaenyra trusts her with her children, the heirs to the Iron Throne. Raina is their sister, who better to protect them? Then you hear the screeches of my COVID baby, my bow-legged boy, the throat goat, Caraxes. Also, make sure you check out my merch. I have Caraxes, throat goat, and Vhagar merch. Shirts, hoodies, stickers. I'll leave the link below. I'm loving Daemon's theme music, but also when it's dark, it's raining, and Daemon and Caraxes land atop Harrenhal. People are like, dragon! And they're running. But Daemon walks through the castle. There are literally weirwood roots growing through the castle. Bats flying about like it's hauntingly beautiful. I love Harrenhal and all the rich lore behind the castle. I actually have a video coming out dedicated solely to Harrenhal and Riverlands lore, so be on the lookout for that. But Daemon is walking through the castle with Dark Sister out, wishing wood. And I think this is way more book accurate Harrenhal than it has ever been depicted. Daemon busts in and says he's claiming Harrenhal, and they don't even care. They're like, sure, apparently you are. Harrenhal is yours. So we meet Sir Simon Strong, and he swears fealty, and that just makes sense. Like, it just makes sense. How strong? Come on. Daemon won't eat their food. He's like, I'm not about to let y'all poison me. I'm sorry. He questions them about their lord, Larys Strong, and they don't like Larys. They say the clubfoot is no lord of mine. They talk about Larys killing Breakbones and Lionel. See, in order to get Sir Otto back as hand, Larys had his little fireflies burn his father, Lionel Strong, and his brother, Breakbones, at the urging of the queen. And it makes sense that Simon would support Rhaenyra. One, they don't like Larys, but while Rhaenyra's children bear the name Velaryon, we all know their blood is that of House Strong. And Rhaenyra's heir is Jace, who is Breakbones' son. So they have more than one reason to support Rhaenyra. Simon says that it's hard to light fires, and he mentions Balerion the Black Dread, and when Aegon conquered Westeros, Haren the Black locking himself in the castle, he refused to surrender, and Balerion then turned his newly finished fortress into birthday candles, extinguishing the entire line. Simon doesn't even understand why Daemon wants Harrenhal. He's like, why do you even want this place? He calls Daemon my prince, and Daemon's like, no, I'm your grace. I'm like, okay, diva, like, chill. His pride is so wounded right now. Daemon said we need to bring Harrenhal into a state of repair. Daemon wants the 40,000 swords of the Riverlands, and Harrenhal is the only castle big enough to host that kind of army. Daemon wants to summon the Lord Paramount, the Lord of Riverrun, and he asks Daemon, well, what then? Like, if you're successful, what then? Daemon says we march on King's Landing and take the throne. Simon's like, the throne? And Daemon's like, it's a big chair made of swords. Daemon is such a smartass. I'm sorry, but that scene was funny. Allison introduces Crispen to her brother, Gwaine Hightower. I believe Sir Gwaine Hightower is who Daemon chooses as his first opponent in the tourney in episode 1 of season 1. He's like, wow, you started so poor, Crispen. How is it that you took my daddy's job? There is definitely like some shade there. But he's going to be joining Crispen on his war path. Crispen asks for Allison's favor, and she gives him her snot rag from her breast. Gwaine is also clocking the tea. He's looking at it. He sees it. He caught it. He's not missing a thing, and the Greens are riding out to war with Crispen leading them. And did you guys check? The crows are eating the hanged man. And with war coming to Westeros, the crows will surely get to feast. So beside it being gruesome and pretty cool, I don't know why I liked it, but it's definitely a nod to book readers, a feast for crows. That's what war is. It's also the name of the 4th book in the Song of Ice and Fire series, but Jaime Lannister has an awesome quote about it when he's standing vigil for Tywin Lannister in the books, and he says, every crow in the 7 kingdoms should pay homage to you, father. From Castamere to the Blackwater, you fed them well. And I cannot disagree. Tywin was pretty crazy. I love it when they like blow kisses to us like that. Like, I love it when Ryan Condal, like, I feel like he loves to do that. Like, to put things that only book readers get it. At Rhaenyra's War Council, this one dude, like, he's always trying it. Like, he's always trying to send the dragons out. Send the dragons out. Send the dragons out. Turn the dragons loose. Please, sir, chill out. Rhaenyra accuses them of plotting treason because they want to send her away and, like, conduct war on their own. And Rhaenys clocks it. Like, she tells them, you'd be wise to remember the queen wears the crown of Jaehaerys the Conciliator, the wisest of kings, and his reign lasted longer than everyone, including Aegon the Conqueror. And it was just a burn. Like, because they're trying to make Rhaenyra be Aegon the Conqueror. Go burn these castles and hold fast. Set your dragons loose. Because that's what Aegon the Conqueror did. But Rhaenyra doesn't wear Aegon the Conqueror's crown. She wears the crown of Jaehaerys, which was also the crown of her father. And while she wants to win the war, she doesn't want to reduce King's Landing or Westeros to ashes. And it should be admirable, because she's the only one that's like not trying to do that. And also, like, the dragons are their family's legacy. Setting them against each other will definitely bring their end, as we know. Rhaenys is on Driftmark visiting with Corless. I can't take it. She says Rhaenyra needs him by her side, which I agree. Corless, please make for Dragonstone with haste. But with Daemon gone, she does need a strong presence beside her that knows these men and that can control them, that knows these houses and how to win a war. No one is better for this than the Sea Snake. No one has a better temperament than the Sea Snake or experience. So Rhaenys also wants Corless to name Raina as heir to Driftmark. Rhaenys is scared to lose Corless. Like, I can't take it. I can't take this scene. I just can't. I love them. Raina is leaving with Stormcloud and Tyraxes and Rhaenyra's children. So Raina is definitely not as sad when she sees they are sending her with 4 dragon eggs. Rhaenyra says, should all come to ruin here, you will bear our hope for the future. Now, these eggs are being taken to Pentos where Dany was. And there are 4 eggs. And we know one is Rhaena's, so there are 3 left. And Dany has 3 eggs. They just said Dreamfire who? Dreamfire who? Alyssa Farman who? It is what it is. It is what it is. But when Joffrey hugs his mama and his little hand wraps around her, it's so sad. Like, Rhaenyra tells her babies goodbye. Like, Jace does too. Baela and Raina hug. Rhaenyra trusts Raina with the entire Targaryen legacy. The eggs, the baby dragons, and 3 heirs to the Iron Throne. The trust in that relationship is deep. But I also want you to think how strategically smart it is for her to ensure their future by sending them away. Not like how Rhaegar Targaryen left his children in King's Landing with a psycho and had the King's Guard at the Tower of Joy. But I digress. Then we get a much needed scene with Allison and Helena. I feel so bad for Helena because, like, she says, I feel bad about Jaehaerys, but I feel I shouldn't feel bad. And Helena is just like, she just gives me like such an empath vibes. Allison reminds Helena she has as much claim to grief as anyone. And Helena says, I forgive you. She like doesn't even want to talk about it. She feels pity for you, babe. She forgives you. Let it go. But it was a touching scene, and it made me see Allison in a different light because I do feel like she is kind of protective of Helena. Still wish she would have married her to Jace and saved us all a bunch of tragedies. Aegon has a full suit of Valyrian steel armor. He's getting fitted to fly to war. It's Aegon the Conqueror's armor, but Larys wants a word. So Larys is trying to get between Aegon and his mother. And I don't understand why he has turned on Alicent. Like, he's done a 180 on her because he was her strongest supporter. And I have to think it's because she's no longer being his foot model and she's stuffing muffins with Crispen Cole. But Aegon winds up hiring him as the Master of Whispers, and based off of Larys' words alone, Aegon decides to stay and not fly to war. I want to see Sunfire. Like, at this point, free Sunfire. Why haven't we seen Sunfire? Like, when they're like, no, we'll go to the Dragon Pit another day, I wanted to throw my remote at the TV. The King's Guard are actually planning to party, and Aegon's like, but you swore chastity now. And they're like, yeah, right. But he looks at them and he's dead serious. And I cackled a little bit because do you still want to be on the King's Guard, buddies? But King's Landing is popping. Off the White is super popular. He says he's the bastard of Balon. Off the White is Team Rhaenyra. He's also Team Jace. But Aegon comes through the bar like a frat boy. Drinks for all. Like, really? Really? Like, we are at war. and you're leaving the safety of the Red Keep to toll around brothels and bars. Cersei would have never allowed this. Cersei, say what you will about Cersei, but she would have never allowed this. She had more control over Joffrey the Cruel than Alicent does over Aegon. So they're drinking and kiki and haha, and then they go to a brothel, and baby, Aegon stumbles upon his brother Aemond and just starts clowning him. He starts embarrassing him. And you can tell Aemond is bothered. I told y'all last week that same animosity Aemond has to Jace and Luke, he likely has towards Aegon, because Aegon was the ringleader of those jokes they made at Aemond when he was little. And just now, Aegon is embarrassing him in a brothel in front of his boys and his girl, and Aemond walks out of there with the thing swinging. He didn't even put pants on, and I'm like, oh my God, did he walk all the way back to the Red Keep like that? Like, I know Aemond is fuming, and he might not be so loyal to Aegon after this. Aegon, you are truly an idiot. But anyway, Rhaenyra is upset. My poor baby has had to send her babies away, but she finally reads Alicent's text message. And then we get Sir Gawain Hightower, and he's just a fool. So he wants to continue to an end, and Crispen is like, no, get back, we're exposed out here. And they see Moondancer. And Baela sees their armor shining, and Moondancer looks so cool. Like the pattern of her, I just love it. So they run to the tree line and just beat Moondancer and Baela. And I would have just burned the whole forest down, to be honest. But Baela is forever and always Daemon's child. She knows she wasn't supposed to be that close, but she went full send at Crispen Cole. And I will stand her forever because of that. And when Baela goes back to tell Rhaenyra, she admits that she didn't exactly listen. And the counselors are like, the time for action is now. Loose the dragons. Loose the dragons. They want to root Cole out and burn him. And she looks at Rhaenys like, I'm going to need to talk to you after this. And I think she will only be taking counsel from Rhaenys. So Daemon is at Harrenhal, and he's having weirwood visions, and I'm about to explode. I wrote a theory about 3 years ago that Daemon was the predecessor of Bloodraven, and my theory has grew dragon wings just now. But the vision, it's young Rhaenyra sewing Jaehaerys' head back on, always coming and going, aren't you? And I have to clean up afterwards. The whole scene is so creepy. He wants to cry, but Rhaenyra is forever cleaning up his mess. He comes, makes a scene, starts some shit, and rolls out and leaves her to deal with it. He did the same thing in season 1. But right now, he's left her at Dragonstone alone. Yes, he's going to get Harrenhal, but he's not in contact with her. He looks horrified. Then he's in front of the weirwood. And Alice Rivers is there, and she tells him, you will die in this place. And it was giving Mira telling Bran, you died in that cave. I can't control myself right now because WTF. Also, Alice Rivers is known as the Witch Queen of Harrenhal. She has like Melisandre-like powers, allegedly. I think she's more tied to the old gods, but she's allegedly Lionel Strong's bastard daughter, and she has a lot to do with this story, and I love the casting, and I'm going to do a whole video about her. Rhaenyra goes to Masara to extract some info from her. What do you know of the movements of Alicent? Rhaenyra wants to try to avert war. Rhaenyra sneaks into the city disguised as a septa, and my heart was beating. My jaw was on the floor. First of all, I have to say I love this scene. I feel like a lot of people won't like it or won't like get it because, first of all, you can tell that Rhaenyra and Alicent really know each other, that there is love there, but besides, like, they truly know each other's nature. So when Rhaenyra pulls out the blade and they talk, not gonna lie, when Rhaenyra was like, "Oh, I've begun badly," like, that was low-key hilarious. But she says that Rhaenys has counseled me, but Alicent, like, she gets to popping off. Alicent is like, huh, so you come to surrender then? there are no terms. You have no armies. Like, they were literally arguing like exes. So Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook killed that scene. Killed it. Alicent says, your father changed his mind. Alicent swore it on the memory of her mother, and Rhaenyra believes her. She accepts it and starts to cry and asks, well, what did my father say in the end? But when Alicent says he said the prince that was promised, Rhaenyra realizes it was a mistake. She tells Alicent a mistake was made. It's the story of Aegon the Conqueror. It's not about your little stupid son. She should have told her to put the blade to the flame and read the prophecy for yourself. She says, it's too late, Rhaenyra. This is going to eat Alicent alive. The seed of doubt has been planted that Viserys never changed his mind and she actually is betraying him and Rhaenyra. And now it's war. And I want y'all to please never tell me that Aegon is more fit for the throne. Rhaenyra has tried in every way to avoid a war. She listened to the terms from Otto, and she didn't kill him where he stood. She hasn't loosed her dragons or sent soldiers to battle. She's put her pride aside and snuck into King's Landing dressed as a septa and begged Alicent to do the right thing. But I just don't feel like there's anything that Alicent could do at this point to stop it, to be honest. But at least Rhaenyra has tried. And I think she realizes that it's war now. And I just want to point out that she's the only one that has tried to end this thing. And she has tried to de-escalate this thing while everyone rushes to war. She's remained steadfast in not sending her dragons to their deaths or burning cities to the ground. I just know next week we have everyone marching. All the pieces are moving into place. You want your bloody war, Sweet Summer family? You're gonna get it next week. But what did you think about this episode? Let me know what you thought. As always, thanks for watching. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.